Start the recording. Hello, since I was the first one talking, I'll continue. Hi, I'm Deborah Garrett, and we are starting the February 2nd meeting of the work group on pretrial services and processes. Oh, and Dr. Peterson's with us too. Hello, Dr. Peterson.
Sorry,
Okay.
apologize for being late.
Oh, that's okay. We're just getting started. I just introduced the meeting and that doesn't mean I'm going to chair it though, because Stephen and Judge Freeman are much more up to date on what we've been doing. And I think, Andrew, you've been talking with them also about next steps for our group. Judge Freeman, can I turn it over to you?
Yes, absolutely. So thank you, Deborah. We've got, I think, a couple of things initially on the agenda were updates to pretrial services and the risk assessment tool. I'm going to go a little bit out of order because we have Dr. Peterson with us. And Andrew, you and I have exchanged a couple of emails with respect to going forward on the verification process on the risk assessment tool. And I just wanted to update everyone where we were at. You had made a suggestion as far as a third party to help with verification, because we understand that AOC is stretched kind of thin, and you are not able to continue on with your work with our committee. But you've suggested somebody. I'm kind of summarizing here, but you indicated that they would have the same access to AOC materials as that you would have. And I think where we left off was, I think I owe you an email, but the question was whether you could assist on giving us a little bit of help as far as the scope of work on what the verification process would be, so that we could frame that for this third party. I think that's where we left it, Dr. Peterson, but did I summarize that correctly?
Yeah, Judge Freeman, I think that sounds right. So yes, this is a group I've worked with before. It's actually a former professor who, excuse me, not former, he's a professor. He was formerly at Washington State, is now at the University of Nebraska, and he has a colleague that works with him. And together they actually did the validation for the King County, or revalidation for the King County risk assessment. So they have, and he's done many of these before. So a lot of experience in the area. And so his process would be, one, getting jail data to kind of understand, who's been brought in through Superior Court and who's been released. And then getting AOC data to see, who's had either warrants issued when on release or a new criminal filing or something like that, to then validate and say, yes, this risk assessment is measuring, is measuring what we intended to measure, and that's the risk of a failure on pretrial release.
So since he has done the revalidation for King County, can I assume that we're not going to need a whole lot of assistance with the scope of work? Is that fair to say?
Shouldn't, yeah, that should be
Okay.
pretty well understood on their part.
Okay. Yeah. And I have spoken with the executive on this, and it sounds like we do have support from the executive and going forward on this.
Fantastic.
I think at this point, I probably need to just turn it over to the executive branch as far as contracting with the individual. Are you able to send that along to either Tyler or maybe Kayla over at with the executive's office to go forward with the information on the other professor?
Sure. So would they just need to be put in contact? Is that what we're looking for?
Basically,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you can send me their contacts, I will make that kind of introduction.
Okay.
And get that process started.
And the last thing I'm going to put you on the spot on,
No, it's okay.
Peterson, because I know you're doing a lot right now, is that I know that Judge Jones has been working with Alan a bit on him starting to gather information. Is there anything that Alan needs to know right now that he can get started on in assisting this process?
I guess that would be the other. No, I don't think so. I mean, I think Alan has everything there. Just, the data that he shared with me will probably come into play again, but it's, it's information he's already run for me, so it won't be, anything surprising for him.
Yeah.
Yeah. And nothing he couldn't handle.
Okay. Thank you. I'll open it up to everyone if anyone has questions about this.
What we're setting up is a system that will be ongoing for validation. I mean, we're going to validate based on the data that we have from the past, but we're also setting up a system that will permit us to continue validating on an ongoing basis, right?
I hope so. Yeah, I think that's very important that you not only, do that initial validation to make sure, it does fit your county, or it fits your county, as best it can. But then, things change over time. And so you shouldn't assume what was true 5-10 years ago is still true today. So yeah, I think that's very important. Absolutely.
Okay. And that's part of the mission here, is to set up this project and set up the means of reporting so that we do have that ongoing capability, right? So that was a leading question, but I think I'm right about that. Do you agree, Andrew?
Yeah, I think that's the best goal, the ultimate goal.
Okay. And Dave Freeman, that's your understanding also of the ultimate goal, right?
It is, and I should have also included that in my conversations with the executive. We do have, I think, one new county employee starting this quarter and another coming on in the future as far as that data collection and processing. And the idea is that they are going to be able to assist at a certain stage in this. I think it's too early on to put this project on them, but potentially in the future, they might be of assistance as far as continuing validation process.
Oh, that's great news.
Yeah.
Good.
Steven has had his hand up, I see.
Oh, I'm sorry. Steven's hand
Looks like Maya
was right
does
in with the
too.
books.
That's okay. Andrew, thank you for this help. One of our critical focuses from the very beginning was adding a look at racial disparities to the validation work. Was that part of the King County work? Would the person you're referring us to be prepared to report to us on that in an ongoing basis as well?
Yes. So, well, for the validation purposes, yes. I mean, that's part of the validation, is to make sure that the risk assessment isn't, what I want to say, like increasing racial disparity in any way, right? So yes, that's a part of almost every validation. That's a part of every validation that I've ever seen.
Okay.
And I know it was part of the King County, and it's been part of the other work that he's done.
Is the data you've been getting from Bruce and previously Dave Reynolds sometimes a stream, sometimes drips and drabs? Has that had the adequate racial identifiers that you would need to do that kind of analysis?
So the data I've gotten from them, now it's been a while since I've received data from them, actually, but I can't recall at the moment, but our AOC records do have race and ethnicity information in them. So that's usually the source of that demographic information for me.
Okay, great.
And I know the jail also collects that independently, so it's good as a kind of a cross check too when doing this.
Okay, does that finish that item for the agenda, Dave?
I think so. I think technically we're still on agenda item 1, but I think the idea was we would also cover pretrial services and I know Judge Jones and Alan have met at least once, but I don't know if Alan has any updates on that.
Updates on what are we referring to, Judge?
I think this is just as kind of a status check-in on pretrial services.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. So I've been meeting with either via email, video chat, and other means with various pretrial groups around Washington State. Let me adjust that a little bit. Pierce County, Thurston, Yakima, Spokane, and there's one more that it's escaping my mind right now. But we started a discussion recently about Judge Jones mentioned wanting a little bit more robust and thorough intake process where we can ask more, I wouldn't say personal questions, but we can get to the root of services. You know, we want to be highly tailored towards getting people to the right services, you know, whether it's drug, mental health, things like that, housing, you know, getting transportation, things along that nature. So I've been gathering information from other pretrial groups, seeing what their intake form looks like and their intake process. So far, I've gotten 5 or 6 responses and just gathering their documents. I'm going to compile the questions they ask along with the questions that we ask and see if we can make a better form when, I don't want to say interviewing new clients, but essentially that's what it is. You're trying to figure out where they might need help in the community. So yeah, so making a better intake or interview process. As far as updates with the units, kind of jump around a little bit here. We have 19 on high right now, 28 on medium, and 14 on low. The mediums and lows, we try to contact once a month. We don't try, we contact once a month. That's the expectation, either via phone or in office. Anybody who stops in for a court date also is expected to just stop in the office and say hello and do an office check-in. And then the individuals on high pretrial services are weekly check-ins, phone and in person. And then for all levels, they get the court reminders. They get us giving them phone calls, reminding them of important other dates that aren't necessarily Superior Court, so we can remind of other court dates and Muni and district, and then referrals, kind of building that rapport, seeing how they're doing, seeing you know, if they need help with housing and all those other things. By we, I mean Stephanie and I met with the new AOC person assigned to pretrial services. I think her name is Yvonne Jones. And she's fantastic. We met with her for about an hour, telling her about our program, what we have in place, what we'd like to have in place. And she was very excited to possibly start working with us when she gets here to Washington. She's moving from North Carolina. She's looking forward to helping us build our process and just what we've already started, making it a little bit better.
Good.
Great. I also wanted to highlight that now that Alan is the supervisor, we have filled his old position, and I wanted to welcome Kelsey McDonald as well onto pretrial services, just so everybody can put a face to the name now. She's on our call.
Nice to see you, Kelsey, and welcome to our group. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
How are things going for you so far?
Great. Alan's being super patient. I'm learning all the things. So it's going good.
Good. Well, we're
I-
looking forward to seeing this group and this unit and the work that it does continue to expand in the near future. And so we're glad to have you, and I'm glad to see your enthusiasm.
I'm excited to be a part of it.
Good. Good.
I just want to say we were lucky to have Kelsey too. I think her perspective is going to be good in this process. If I remember correctly, and Kelsey can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think she started in juvenile detention probably about the same time I was back in the prosecutor's office about 18 years ago.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, so a lot of experience with kind of a rehabilitative model.
Mhm.
And I think that's the direction that we're trying to to move pretrial in as far as really focusing on what the barriers are to getting to court. And I think that's going to be an excellent perspective going forward.
Good, good. All right. Well, welcome. We're glad to have you.
Before we move on from that topic, I will bring one other issue up. That is, I am likely going to slowly transition off of the incarceration task force. It is not because I don't care an awful lot about what is going on within this work group and within the task force. The issue has become in the last year that I have been spread very thin due to other obligations that have required some immediate attention, including a very large water adjudication that is coming to Whatcom County. And I've spent hours upon hours in the last year trying to get our court prepared for that. And most recently, I've also started up on a Supreme Court task force on disability access. And those two things just, I think, have pulled me away a little bit more than I would like from the important work that's being done here. Judge Jones has been very eager to work with pretrial services. He really wants to develop that program. And I think he is going to be a good fit to smoothly transition into this role, because he's kind of been the one that's been in the loop all along as I've had my committee membership here. He's always had his hand on the pulse of what's going on with pretrial. There are a couple of things I want to accomplish before I leave, including making sure that we have everything set up for that validation process. And a couple of other matters that I want to wrap up before I do formally leave the committee. But I wanted to give everybody a heads up that is probably going to be a bit of a transition over the next couple of months. And expect probably Judge Jones at the next meeting so I can introduce him to everybody.
Okay, and I'll just say that knowing Judge Jones as I do, it will miss Judge Freeman for sure. But I do think Judge Jones will be very helpful in our group. He has a background as a prosecutor before he became a judge 3 years ago, and he's had an interest in the rehabilitative aspects of criminal justice for a long time. So I think he'll be a good addition to our group. Although we will miss Judge Freeman for sure.
Thank you, Deborah. And with that, we've got our second agenda item, and I'm not sure where we left off on this because we didn't have a meeting last month. I think this comes back from our December meeting, and that has to do with the report card. I don't recall. I know we had all received it before our last meeting. So I'm hoping that either Stephen or Deborah might be able to help me out with this one, because I think this goes back to December, and I'm not entirely sure where we're at in this discussion.
Stephen, you want to take a crack at it?
Well,
I must admit, I've been traveling and been off, and my mind has just not been here recently. It's coming back, but slowly.
well, I paid attention to this when we got it, but I'm not sure I'm prepared at the present moment to retrieve or analyze much of what we got in terms of the pretrial context. I think they did appreciate that we had landed on a risk assessment tool. I don't recall much more specific than that.
Well, that's going to be a homework assignment then for all of us to read that report card and report and be ready for discussion at our next meeting. And Jill, we have those links. I believe, I can't see it on my screen, but I believe we have those links in our agenda, and I know that you've sent them previously. Am I right?
Yeah, that's correct.
And have they been sent to all committee members?
Yes, they're on
All
the
board
agenda.
members, yeah. Okay.
And Councilmember Buchanan has his hand raised.
Yeah, hey, everybody. I just wanted to kind of echo what Steven said. The report did certainly recognize the importance of the work of this group and the pretrial services instrument. So I would really recommend everybody dig into that report a little bit. mostly positive. It really is. It really showcases the work that we've done over the last, 5 or 10 years and even longer. So yeah, dig in, check it out.
Thank you, Barry. And yeah, I must say, I did look at the report briefly when we first got it, which I think was early December. But then I went traveling, and I gotta say, I didn't really think about it during that time. So I need a refresher, and
We
we'll get
actually-
a refresher for our next meeting.
We actually got it in October because I remember how nervous I was right before the election.
Aha. Okay, I think it was not long before our December meeting that I read it, however. So, okay, so does anybody have a question about how to get to that report so that you can read it for our next meeting? I think
Jill,
Jill's
do you
been pretty
mind
good.
sending that out again, just so everybody has it?
No, I'll go ahead and resend.
Okay.
Thank you.
The one update I will say from the report, one of the items from the judicial perspective, which I think is best addressed in this subcommittee, was, moving cases along pre-trial. I had announced back when we got the report that the court was going to implement some additional kind of ratcheting down on prior court rules, trying to speed up time for trial. We have run into quite a few barriers to that, including access to conflict counsel, which has been an ongoing issue, which we've seen a lot of improvement in the last month on, which is great. And I'm happy to report, and I know Maya's been talking to every committee on this topic, but we do have additional positions in the public defender's office and in the prosecutor's office, and the bench got a lot of feedback from Maya as well as I think Eric Ritchie, and we put a pause on any additional changes for now from the bench's perspective, because we wanted to see how kind of additional new staff and whether that helps speed it up, and getting a handle on some of the backlog of assigned cases as well. So we have not implemented any further changes as of now. We might reevaluate that when we hit June for our local rules session. But
I don't know if it's on topic or off topic. I think it's right in line with it. Just finishing up with the update I was mentioning earlier with Kelsey being onboarded. Also, she is learning all the processes really fast, and there's a lot to learn. She's doing fantastic. But we started going to first appearances again in the jail. And
Good.
if that doesn't permit, we at least go to 5B and view it from there. So we know immediately who to contact to either call the jail or go over to the jail and make contact with people. So that's been a big improvement, having 2 people in this office now. Along with Judge Freeman mentioning closure rates. Stephanie handed me a project 5-6 months ago about looking at 2019 to present cases and how long they're being left open, and using Odyssey data to correctly note what day they were closed and all of that. So I've started that. I'm about through. So 2019's taken a little while, because as I was going through a lot of these documents and I'm seeing cases being open for 1,200 days, and I would click on them and actually find out that it wasn't open for 1,200 days. It was what happened with a lot of these cases is they took a plea after only being pending for, let's say, 300 days. But when Blake's decision came out, they reapplied a sentence or a disposition. And so then it automatically bumped that date 2 years. And so the data showed that the case was open, like I said, 1,000 days, when really it was only open 300 or 250. So as I was going through, I was noting all these things so the data is more accurate when it gets to the judges and when it gets to work groups like this, and they can look at that and say, with a little more confidence, that these are more accurate closure rates. So it was a long-winded way of saying I'm almost done with 2019. And then once that happens, I'll be able to move on to the next spreadsheet Stephanie has given me, and I can kind of start updating you or giving it to committees that really rely on that data, the results of those dispositions.
Good.
And then one more time, a while ago, it was probably a year ago, I mentioned that CE would eventually be bought by Ottoman or by another company, and the software would be migrated over, and we'd have this really new fancy toy to play with. CE is either having trouble doing the switch, or they've put a pause on it or something, but I have no date now of when we might switch to the new system or how it's going to look or any of that. So I'll keep you updated as I find out, but from talking with the Washington Pretrial group, a lot of actually, I think all of the Washington Pretrial has CE software. They're all getting ghosted by the company. They don't hear anything back from them when they ask what's happening. They were also promised a date, a year ago or 2 years ago, and nothing's happening. So I'll let you know when I know.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Any additional business that anyone wants to raise?
Let's all agree on our next meeting. First Friday in March. And I don't have my calendar in front of me, but about to change that.
March 1st.
Yeah, is March 1st workable for everybody? First Friday in March, first day in March. Okay, and we all have the homework assignment of reading the report card, and we will. And Dave, other items for us?
I think the only other item is public comment.
Judge Freeman, I have two quick questions.
Oh, sorry.
If I could, that's all right. First one is for Andrew. Andrew, is that King County validation study available, and could you distribute that if possible, so we can see the work of the person the executive is going to be?
Yeah, I'll see if I can get a copy of that and send it out.
Okay, and then second, as I think everybody knows, I'm off the task force as of today, at least, or yesterday. And so I'd just like to ask Judge Garrett and Judge Freeman whether they would mind my continuing as a member of the work group in an unofficial capacity.
I don't know, Stephen, that's a big ask.
Please.
Absolutely. Yes. We'd very much like you to continue.
Okay, that'll save Jill having to promote me to a panelist. Thank you.
Yeah. Anything further? Well, it's good to see you all, and thanks for your attendance here. Judge Freeman, I'm hoping that you'll talk with Judge Jones, and hopefully he can join us for the March 1st meeting.
Yes, and I think my 3 homework items. One, I'm going to bring Judge Jones in at the next meeting to introduce everyone. I want to follow through with ensuring that we get the validation process started, and also set up a training before I'm officially off the work group with our commissioners as well, so that we can kind of do an update with Alan and pretrial services and where we're at there, so that we can educate everyone on the current status and then go from there.
Sounds good. Okay, anybody have anything further for our meeting?
Jill, any public comment?
I don't see any attendees in our conference room or in our attendee list. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I think that finishes our meeting. Thanks to all of you, and I'll look forward to seeing you 4 weeks from today.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.